So, we are currently reading the 7 levels of communication, and we read chapters 4 through 7. And I thought it was amazing, and I want to read the book like 12 more times now.
Do you have the hard
Uh,
copy?
I don't. I'm more. This would be probably a good one to get the hard copy on. I'm a big disc follower because that was a KW. Like the first thing you do at KW is take the disc test. So he was speaking a little bit my language as he got into some of these later chapters. But the first chapter was, I'm going to try to not make him talk. Chapter 4, you can't even spell communicate without time. And in here, he starts talking about time blocking and what to do in the time blocking periods. He gets double booked and Rick gets double booked and kind of runs into having to tell Michelle that he had to cancel the meeting, which then kind of leads us into that disc conversation, which was absolutely amazing. And he's got some homework, so he has to write the 12 success stories, I believe, in this chapter. They talk about the power hour. I just coached somebody on the power hour. I was very excited to use that. I like the term of that. So anyway, what did you guys think about this chapter? What was kind of your initial thoughts on time blocking and the things you should be doing while time blocking to communicate, at least?
Absolutely amazing. I actually even chatted with my husband last night about how we can even plan down to picking out our outfits for the week and how much time that would save us each day. I'm like, even me who, works from home and you don't really need to get too dressed up, but knowing what I'm going to wear each morning so you don't have to worry about it, you just pick and grab and go. And then meal planning of making sure that whatever we're going to do, it's going to be ready. And you could just see the relief in his face and my face of like, okay, good. No more guessing last minute or failing and doing frozen pizza again. So I got really excited about that part.
Well, when you take that much control of your time, a lot of people think it takes more time to do it. It actually frees up so much time.
Yep, and energy because you just spin your wheels.
So I actually really kind of like the frog acronym. So sometimes when I'm out and I'm like just socializing, sometimes I don't really know what to talk to. So sometimes it's just like the first thing that comes to my mind and I'll just run with that. But like I don't know, this one was kind of a cool way for like especially like business networking, to kind of have like almost 4 kind of go-to spots, like family, recreation, occupation, and then goals. Which I mean, if you were to ask us any of those questions, any of us would probably talk your damn head off. So I don't know, but yeah, I kind of like those.
Mm-hmm.
I like the time blocking. I just think I have a hard time doing it. And it's definitely a commitment level. You just got to go do it. And I've gotten better with phone calls, which is extremely stressful. I get my phone rings all day, as everybody does, right? But it is it's difficult because I mean there's times, and I somewhat shop the same way to some extent as well. But I think I'm not nearly as bad as some of these clients potential clients that call me. They'll send an email, they'll send a request, they'll take the time to find me, and great, sounds good. I'll call them back in 2 hours. Oh, I'm sorry, I found somebody already. Like, okay. And they already decided by the time I call back. So I mean, I've lost clients because I don't call back, or I stopped answering the phone sometimes. Now, I mean, I think, is it better or worse on the long term? Probably better. I mean, I imagine. If I probably didn't want them as a client if they're so eager to hire somebody that they came and give. So if they're calling somebody, they don't get an opportunity to speak with them. They've already hired somebody else. Then what you're just wasting my time. So it's probably a better situation that I'm not getting those clients anyway, potentially. But it is definitely a tough pill for me to kind of swallow. But at the same time, I mean, if I don't do it, if I literally don't put the phone, I will never get anything done all day. I'll be on that phone 10 hours a day talking with clients. Clients are super happy. They spoke to the attorney. But they're not happy because the work that I was supposed to do for them didn't get done because I was talking to another client, when I hung up the phone with them. So the productivity, when I focus on that and I kind of do it, it works. It definitely works.
Well, they say that in the morning, that's your working hours. And if you stay in control of those hours, your afternoon, you can play a lot of times. I mean, maybe not you because you're super busy, but that's, you know, that's kind of the idea and he talks about having a ritual, right? A morning ritual, a pre-leave ritual, a sleep ritual, and a Sunday ritual. And I don't always implement those, but when I do, it's amazing. So like when I look at my week on Sunday, and right now we have to, because we have to figure out who's driving what car, where and how, and you know, because we're all sharing cars right now. And so we are kind of looking at that a little closer. And while all the extra travel has maybe been stressful, knowing what's coming and not getting like what side blind, what's that statement, what's that phrase?
Blindsided?
Yes, blindsided, that's it. With, oh God, mom, I need the car right now, it's like, okay, I'm not gonna have the car on Tuesday at 3 o'clock because Jordan needs it, and so here's the other arrangement, and there's already a plan in place. And so I think that that's something that I may try to start doing like at a super high level. And then David, to your point, you know, this chapter is a lot about the calls and the marketing and how do you get business from that, right? During that time block. And I think for us, Natalie, I hope, you know, you run with this when you're making your calls. Like I just got off the phone coaching somebody and, you know, what was her biggest thing was like, what do I call them and say? Like, I don't want to call and be obnoxious. Well, you call and talk about frog, right?
Yep.
Call and figure out what it is you're going to do for them before you get off that phone. That way you can put it in your database to call them in 30 days and have the answer to where's the best pizza in Atlanta, you know?
Yeah,
Awesome.
I like
Anything?
that too. How I can help you, and then changing that whole phone call from how can I sell you a house to what can I do to help you?
Yeah. Yep. Which leads us, anything else about chapter 4? No. There was so much, like my notes are like forever and ever and ever and ever. Like I probably could have spent all 30 minutes talking about just chapter 4. All right, chapter 5. You're in the people business. So I say this to the humans I coach all the time. We are not in the business of selling houses. We are in the business of creating relationships. The sale of a house and the commission you earn is bonus, and you can pay your bills by doing that. I think that is such a true statement because the more you help others, like the more you give, the wider your hand is, the more it can hold in its capacity. So in this chapter, he talks about it, it's being all about people. He starts talking about personalities, which I think is really, really, really important. I actually had this conversation yesterday as well with somebody that I coach. Like, understand who you're talking to. You can't talk to everyone that way. And I'm not saying don't be you. I'm just saying understand who they are. Right? Like, if you're an asshole, like I'm an asshole, I get it. Like stuff comes out of my mouth that shocks people all the time. I don't change that. I just may change the speed or the amount of words or how I say it based on their personality. And so he starts talking about the disc. And I put you guys all in the disc, by the way. So I'm interested to see what you think you are and how it compares to my valuation of you guys. And then he started talking about drip campaigns, right? The 7v7, the follow-up after he wrote the power note and got the call back or whatever. So what did you guys think about chapter 5? Where do you think you sit on the disc profile, and how do you think that'll be useful?
I don't know where I sit on the disc profile because I don't know enough about the disc profile itself, other than, you know, I guess the examples that were given as far as how you communicate with other are very interesting, and tailoring your conversation to who your audience is, and kind of that is definitely an important piece of any puzzle, because it can be the most invaluable information that you're giving to somebody, but if the person that you're trying to convey it's not clicking, And the way they learn, you know, again, whether it's visual, whether it's oral, whether it's a combination of multimedia type situation that makes them learn the best, or just or how it's presented. You know, give me yeah, give me the details, give me the guts, give me the primaries. You know, I don't care about the, you know, I don't care how it works, you know, and I don't care how it's slaughtered, just give me the steak, right? Or some people like, I want to know exactly what I'm eating all the way down to how that thing was processed, because otherwise that's how I want to make, that's how I want to enjoy the meal the best. Right. So everybody kind of enjoy, you know, has that little bit of a feeling, and knowing about it is super important. And it's definitely something that I would want to expand, because that's some of the issues like I had with it, that feels like some of the other people that have read the book or listening to it had some experience with some of these key terms. And some of these key terms like sound very interesting, but this is all my first foray into hearing what a disc is. Other than I've heard personality traits, I've learned things like learning visually, learning kind of multimedia, learning just oral, whatever the case may be, learning by doing. I understand that everybody has that differently, but this particular disc theory, if you will, is new to me. So I wish there was more information on that, because I definitely I don't know what I am.
So I will tell you kind of a simple explanation of the four. So D, they're your most dominant out of the four profiles. They're very straight to the point. Anyone who knows disc, like they don't even call me Laura. They're like, yeah, you're just a high D. I actually think I'm a higher I on the test. I've taken the whole big like test. An I is the influencers. So those are going to be your social people. Those are going to be the people who plan parties, who plan events, who know everybody at the party, who makes their way around the whole party and doesn't talk to just one person. They like to have all their hands kind of in everything. An S, which is what I think Craig is. And David, I think you're probably a pretty high S. That's your steady person. So they're steady, they're dependable, they're always there. They never falter. They're someone who, when you explain something, taking a little bit of extra time to explain the ins and outs of how it works is important to them. And then your C's, which Natalie, I would say you're probably a C. Those are your cautious people. They're going to follow the rules. They're going to make sure every T is crossed, every I is dotted. A lot of women are C's, because that's just kind of in our nature. We tend to take care of everyone. So to be organized and to be able to do that, you have to have a lot of structure in your day. And so you follow a schedule well, and you do those kind of things well. So that is your four classifications of the disc profile. So babe, you're an S. And most of the time, most people have two that are higher and two that are lower. And it's a huge swing. Like it's like up
But it's
there.
interesting too, because I think like I know I've evolved. I've been a couple of these over the years, and so it is interesting to get your assessment to and hear that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. David, are you frozen? Oh.
Hey, can you
Hey.
guys hear me?
Yes.
You guys just stopped for a minute, and I'm like, what the hell happened? So, after you explained the disc profile, I kind of understand the S. At first, I thought it was a C, but then you explained it, and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe not. So, but I feel like these first two chapters kind of make me so Craig was kind of talking about this earlier, and so it's like, how do you be someone that's like, how do you carve out time to work on certain things, especially when it's like services based? You know, you got to perform all of the services, and you got to talk to all the people you're performing the services for. And so it's like, he's got like some nice little tidbits in here that kind of help you understand, like one, like the disc profile, like how to read people and how to kind of communicate, kind of helps. And then two, like putting that time block on there, like he was kind of talking about with the and I think I might be going back one chapter, but I think he had like he had the coach was saying, you know, schedule your meetings, and he was like the way he did it, it was like he had so many meetings on one day, and then it would open up the rest of his week. And then like you were saying, take control of the morning. But I don't know, it's still just a challenge, kind of like the more and more we kind of talk about communicating and like networking and all of that, it's like how do you do that and perform the services? And I feel like the one thing that's kind of helped is the more technical aspects of what I do, that I write down clearly, it becomes a little easier to pass off. And so certain things that are more time consuming, I can pass off. But, you know, I don't know, after a while, it's just, there's still so many things that, you know, as a services based, you got to kind of do. But it's, I don't know, this kind of reminds me of that, continues to kind of help me like navigate through that.
I also like the scripts that they went through for each of the personality types. That was interesting how approach the same topic with the 4 different types of people.
Yeah, that was something that we did at a super high level at KW. As a new agent, you ran through scripts that worked for all 4 personalities. And we talked about it in almost every class and every meeting, because understanding who you're talking to, right? I had a client one time who she would have let me get sued, okay? Like she like did not care that we were under contract and there was a timeline at all. I had helped her sister. Her sister was a high ass. Oh my God, her sister is such a high ass. She likes to be cuddled and she wants all the information, but and she just like over explaining everything, and she wanted to learn. And so I just assumed that dealing with Shirley was going to work, right? Like I went naturally into dealing with her the same way I had dealt with her sister. And at some point in the transaction, I was ready to pull my hair out. I was like, oh my God. And then I went, Laura, you're a fucking idiot. She is a high D. She is a spitting image of you. She doesn't want to have a 10-minute conversation about the woman being a single mom like she is. She has no emotional connection to that buyer like her sister did to her buyer, right? Because I sold both of their houses. And I went, let me try this. I sent her a text message. Shirley, I've got 2 things you need to sign. Here's what they are. If you have questions, call me. Otherwise, please sign them by 2. They were signed at like 1:30. And I never had another problem with her again, right? Like never had another problem with her again. And I know that I've lost clients on the other side of that because I'm a high D where I haven't done enough explaining. Like there are some people who want all the data, your high Cs, they want to know everything. They want all the information. And so I think it's important that way you know how to work with your clients, but I also think it's important because you know which ones you may not want to work with. Right? There are some people that say I'm an asshole, and I'm really not. I'm just a high D, which makes a high C think I'm an asshole. I didn't say high S, I had said high C.
Okay, fair enough.
Right? All right. Anything else on chapter 5? Sweet. Chapter 6, phone calls, the dreaded phone call. I think everybody hates making phone calls. Who loves making phone calls?
It depends.
I don't
It
mind.
depends. Oh, well, in real estate, everybody hates it.
Craig's like, I get charged by the minute.
Phone
I
calls,
love
like a lead generation phone calls, I mean, I guess maybe different than just regular phone calls. I don't mind making phone calls. I'll make phone calls all day. This morning, I think I was having a conversation with somebody that is very important to me. And I'm like, oh, we'll just text. I'm like, oh no, I'm done texting. Time to call. And you know, I'll pick up the phone and phone call because I mean, I don't know, get on the phone. I mean, I don't know. I think it's important kind of to do. I don't mind doing it. But at the same time, lead gen, cold call, or kind of, you know, kind of going through a database You know, kind of going through old clients, I don't mind necessarily wouldn't mind doing. It's more the time issue that I have. I have a hard enough time getting off the phone with new clients coming in. Unfortunately, I've been my phone ringing and trying to get, you know, ongoing service. And that's probably a depth of my staffing where I can offload some of that stuff to other individuals, and I can focus on like kind of those follow-up calls and those kind of client cultivation, just kind of client management and making sure I'm reaching out to them, letting them know, hey, I'm still here. You know, what is there anything that you need, right? I mean, I'm here, I guess, you know, twisting the conversation around and making sure that it's not so much what I want. I want clients, right? But what can I do for my clients that they want me, right? And kind of taking the script around that way. But taking the time for it, I wouldn't mind doing it. You know, there's times that I reach out to clients, hey, how's it going? Haven't heard from you. I don't mind doing it. It's time management in the sense of I need more people apparently.
Yes, yes, you do. Well, in this chapter, you kind of hit it right on the nail on the head. He starts talking about how to make those calls. The way I like to describe it is feel not so salesy, right? Like, how do you make these calls? And at the end of the call, the objective is to have a task that you can perform for them before you speak to them again. And so I think knowing what you're going to say and having an objective that ends in a positive result for them, as opposed to you asking for business, I think it makes the phone feel much lighter. Now, something that he did talk about in this chapter is I can't spell it, and it's RAS, but it's where your brain focuses on something after it's been relevant in your life. The reticular
Example.
something system. You know what I'm talking about? You buy a Honda, and so all you see is Hondas.
Yeah.
I just want to talk the BMW, right? Just like once you bought the BMW, all you saw was BMWs.
Correct. That's called your reticular something system in your brain. And so basically what it does is when you hone in on something in your life, you can pick that out. Like you can hear your kid's voice, right? Out of a crowd of 100 kids, you would hear your kid's voice. That's the part of your brain. I never thought about using that in my marketing. I thought that was kind of cool. By like telling your client, hey, when you see somebody who needs my services, will you please let me know so I can see if there's anything I can do to help them? Right? I thought that was kind of cool in this chapter. He talks about asking a lot of questions when you're on these phone calls, and then again to block the time out each day. Time blocking is key. Every book we read, time blocking is key and sticking to it. And I think it's funny, honey, that you have time blocked when you check your voicemail, so you have an allocated time to return calls now.
Mhm.
And that was one of his suggestions in the book, was leave it on your voicemail. Hey, I return calls at this time and this time. So if you haven't heard from me in 30 minutes, this is why. So good job. Kudos. Before you even read the book.
Yes, no, I don't have my voicemail is not, you know, which is a great little tool because there's times clients will call me 5 times in the course of a day. You know, haven't heard from you, haven't heard from you, haven't heard from you. Yeah, I know, I haven't called you. I'll get to you when I get to you to some extent, right? But you know, kind of when they getting the message, having that expectation of when you're to expect that phone call, you know, is definitely key. Does that really change people's perceptions? I don't know. Like, oh man, you know, can't return my phone call for 8 hours. That's kind of garbagey. But hey, it is what it is. I mean, I don't know.
I actually love the voicemail thing. I feel like I've kind of I'm probably gonna change mine again. But like for instance, I had like a system around my phone, like just answering phone calls. And so I think a lot of people, especially when I first did it, initially thought, oh, David blocked me. He doesn't want to talk to me anymore. And until I updated my voicemail, and it's like if you're getting this ring on the first, if you're getting this on the first ring, I'm busy. You know, text me, leave a voicemail, and I'll get back to you. And then, I mean, Craig, to your point, it's like that kind of stops you from having to follow up with the client, and without them, you know, otherwise you end up getting that call of, you know, are you still working on my stuff? And it's like, well, yeah. you just sent the email. I was working on something else. I hadn't responded to that yet, you know, but kind of giving them those expectations up front is really helpful. And then I don't know, I think Laura, you mentioned this earlier, kind of like asking those questions on the call. So the clients that I've had trouble with are the ones that I don't ask enough questions. Because a lot of the times those are the ones that think they know what they want, but they don't. And so they'll come in and they'll come in guns blazing because they're late, and they'll ask for something. But then when I give them what they asked for, they'll be like, "Oh, well, this isn't what I wanted." And I'm like, "I don't know what to tell you." Like we can talk about doing something different, but this is what you asked for. You know, and so it kind of, I don't know, it just creates that dissonance. Whereas if you just spend a little bit more time, you know, you'll kind of hear them say something and you'll be like, oh, well, that doesn't indicate that you need this kind of report. It indicates that you need this service, you know, and then you educate them on that service. And it turns out it may actually work out better for you guys. Or you may just find out, yeah, I don't do that. You've called the wrong person. I'm sorry.
I did like how he discussed about the person that does the most talking is going to be dominating the phone call, but the person who asks the most questions controls the phone call. And then his two follow-up questions of, you know, tell me more about that, or why is that important to you, to really dive deeper into building that trust in each other.
Right.
Yeah. Well, asking that follow-up question usually leads to a different answer than what the first answer was anyway. Like a lot of times, like, tell me a little bit more about that, or why is that important? How are you going to use that space? You know, because like this is probably the best example that I know, but a buyer will say, okay, I need a basement. Okay, so what are you using the basement for? Like, why is that important? I have got to have a space I can get away from the kids to work. Like, I've got to have a quiet space. So what I hear you saying is if we found a ranch and there was a loft above the garage, that would work as well. Oh, yeah, I never thought about that. Yeah, that would work.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And so a lot of times, like when you're asking those questions and they're so important to ask and to continue to dig deeper, you know, when my agents call me and I'm coaching them and they're like telling me about their client, I'm like, great, why is that important? They're like, well, I don't know. And I make them go back because I much like him, I believe these questions are super, super, super important. Because a lot of times people don't know what they don't know and they don't realize what they're missing.
Yeah, it was an excellent point, Laura, and I agree with you as far as getting to the bottom of what their goal is. It happens to me on my estate planning side. A lot of times, I would say 30 to 40% of my clients come in with beneficiary designations. Oh, I have my mom as a designation, or my sister. Oh, so you want to leave the money to your sister? No. I want to go to my kids. Then why do you have your sister, right? Well, they put the sister because they want control issues, but they don't know what they don't know. And so again, because all they want their sister to be the beneficiary, they want somebody else, but they didn't know how to figure that out. So asking that question, well, why do you want this? Like, why do you have your sister? Why do you have your mom there who's, you're not trying to leave anything to? Well, she's going to cover everything. She's going to split it up. Well, did you tell her how to do it? Yes. So you know everything. You just don't know, so getting to those whys are super important, and kind of asking those questions, and empowering the client, in a sense.
Right.
Right. Well, and by asking the question, you've now provided value. You've given them a way to look at something differently. They didn't even know was an option. And then the third reason is it helps you close. Like, I don't know about you two, David and Craig, but I know for us, like, why are you moving? Well, I want to get closer to my grandkids. Well, why is that important? Well, my husband, he's got the beginning stages of Alzheimer's, and spending every minute with them is important because he's not going to remember them, and he wants them to remember him in a good light and as a happy person. Awesome. Well, I haven't found a house that I love. Okay, I get it, but let's keep looking so we can get you close to those grandbabies, right? That's our objective, is to get you. So having that understanding of why this move or what their motivation is, like in sales, that's a closing tactic at 100%. David, I would assume it works in your business as well. Companies or whatever.
So I feel like this is a blessing and a curse, but technically I'm compliance. So a lot of the times we've made the sale before it's happened, right? I need this SOC report because of, I need this tax audit because of, I need this for. So it's like it's a blessing because a lot of the times selling tactics, I mean, we're accountants, we're awkward as hell, but we still close all the time because people need the services. But to your point, if you don't ask the questions, what you end up taking is a terrible client. And it just becomes like, then at that point you have a terrible reputation. Oh, this accountant can't do this. Well, this accountant just can't ask questions to understand what it is you need. Let's say it that way. But yeah, no, it's like a blessing and a curse at the same time. I hate it.
Natural upsells. That's great.
Sorry. All right. Anything else on chapter 6? Nope. Chapter 7, communication plan. So I loved this chapter. I didn't take nearly as many notes in this chapter, but what they start talking about is grading your clients, which is something I do as well. The grade for me is different because it's on my clients, and he's talking about grading referral business or people who may give you referrals. And then having a plan on how you're going to talk to your ambassadors or your SOI, your sphere of influence, or your database. Those are people that refer you more than once a year. Your B people, your champions, your once a year referral people, and then your C's or your friends and family, people who you want to keep up with, but may not refer you at a super high level. It always amazes me that your friends and family are usually your lowest refers. It's normally your past clients and the other people who you found a way to bring business to, other local businesses that you refer out, or just people that come into your network after you become whatever new title you're trying to become. But that is kind of what is on chapter 7. So implementing a communication plan, how does that change your day and your business? And we have 6 minutes.
I liked what he said about the D customers that you didn't mention of. Yeah,
Get 'em
rid
out.
of them. Yep. And that's probably when you think about calling your sphere of influence, it's those ones that are D's that scare you the most or frustrate you the most, and how his direction was to get rid of them, to lead them out.
So in all honesty, that's probably what's stopping me from like creating or really like diving into this one, is just being so, the thought of getting rid of a client for me just gives me a little anxiety. Especially because it's like a lot of the times it's repeat business, right? It's like that's your business on a monthly or annual basis. Um, and sometimes it's like, oh man, it's kind of hard to get rid of this one client because by the time they stop, like once you get whatever it is the issue is, it's an easy client, but then you're just like, oh man. But I don't know, it's just the anxiety for me. But I don't know, kind of having like a book to go to have like that clear guidance on how to put it together kind of helps get rid of it a little bit. But yeah, no, it's definitely been a huge like, because I would benefit from it. I would so benefit from it. Like there are some clients where sometimes it's like, honestly, sure, yeah, I get paid, but if I got rid of this client and got a new one, I probably would have one much more time. To which then at that point I could probably service another client that probably needs the help, but I just don't have the time for them. So just gotta stop being scared of this one.
Well, it was nice to see that he said, if you don't want them, get them out. So that is something I actually struggled with when I first got into real estate. I dumped my whole database into my CRM like they tell you to do. And I started with like the first few names, and my phone put stuff in order by first name, not last name, the way I have it set up for whatever reason. Or how that one was set up. And so like one of the first calls I came to was a PTA mom. And like we didn't like each other. Like it was not like we didn't like each other. Like she was never gonna give me a referral. I was never gonna call her, and it probably took me 3 years to get back in my database because no one had given me permission to remove those people. And it was probably 3 or 4 years in that I finally said, fuck this. Like, there are people I will call, and I started deleting all these people out of my database. I didn't take them out of my phone in case they call me or whatever. My kids are still in school. Now, after my kids are out of school, they're coming out. I don't want them in there. It makes my skin crawl when I see them. Like, I don't like these women. They're mean. They are the definition of mean girls. They're why their daughters act the way they act.
Mhm.
And I just didn't want anything to do with them. And so, like, for me, it was almost a relief of permission because to your point, David, getting rid of somebody, like, it feels politically incorrect and not right and not like, just, it's not allowed. Like, you're not supposed to do that.
Right.
Sweet. Well, if that is it, then this week we will finish the book that takes us from chapter 8 through chapter 12. And most of the chapters are about 20 minutes or less. Some of them are even under 10 minutes, so it shouldn't be a super long read. And then we will be on to our next book after this week.
Sweet.
Awesome.
What book do we know?
I have two that are picked out. I haven't decided which one.
The second.
I kind of like the
I
first
think
one.
I've already downloaded, Laura, FYI. I think I've downloaded both of them.
Does that mean you used my free credits?
Who's free credit?
Well,
It's my Amazon account. Those are my
But
credits.
it's my book club.
Uh-oh.
It is. No, I think one was. I mean, I think one was kind of wealth management and investments techniques, and one was also, I think, related to real estate investments in particular. Kind of. I think more. I think one of them was really interesting, kind of a other people money, kind of like how to invest without using other people or with little your own cash pocket, if you will. I think they're both related to that type of work, and I'll figure out which one, but it's almost there.
Nice.
Sweet.
I think this was a good or a bad book for Steve to miss. I think you would have liked this one.
You need some management.
I agree. Many people, I am a firm believer that these are the activities that grow your business, not the busy work that he left to go do. This is the kind of stuff that, if you're not learning, you're dying or not growing. And I'm sad to see him go. He left my accountability group as well. And David hasn't been logging into that either. He sucks too.
Jeez,
I feel like an outsider. I also wake up late. I've been waking up late. It's not an excuse, but whatever.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure we're going to get cut off. So peace.
See y'all.